It's your returning champion, Elgintensity, aka Elgin Trapkin, the genuine Laudical. Laurel Hubbard, the mediocre New Zealand weightlifter who became world-class when he started competing as a woman, just became the first trans athlete to qualify for the Olympics. Let's hear what the experts think will be the more gruesome nightmare for the women in the Olympic Village: Japan's tentacles or Hubbard's testicles.
New Zealand has chosen the first transgender athlete to compete at its Olympic Games. Laurel Hubbard is a female weightlifter who will be in Tokyo next month. Supporters call her selection a breakthrough for the transgender community.
If we're lucky, the next trans breakthrough will be Hubbard's other elbow.
It's also reignited a debate with critics who say it's unfair for an athlete who used to compete with men to participate in women's sports.
Hopefully, Hubbard's other manly growths don't get caught on camera. Only in a world where that counts as a female does an issue with an obvious agenda behind it count as a debate.
MTS Tie-Up has the story.
For the headline-making and barrier-breaking weightlifter, all she wants to do is compete.
I am who I am.
That feel when he can't beat Pluto, so he competes with olive oil because Popeye's chicken.
I'm not here to change the world. I just want to, be me and just, do what I do.
He doesn't want to change the world, just the world leaderboard. In a recent interview, Tracy Lambrich, another New Zealand weightlifter, recounted how her coach told her in 2017 that Hubbard broke all of her national records and that she'd have to either compete in a lower weight class or retire. Lambrich competed in a lower weight class, then retired to avoid accommodating the cheater who stole her glory. As the 7th-ranked weightlifter in the over 87-kilo women's class, Hubbard isn't quite good enough to change the world, but might be good enough to end your career. Mellifluous.
43-year-old Laurel Hubbard,
Feminine.
who transitioned from male to female in 2012, is considered a serious medal contender after being selected to represent her home country, New Zealand, at the Tokyo Games.
She is a very dedicated and resilient athlete, and on behalf of Laurel, I would like to say how honored she is to be in the team.
This is like Lori Loughlin's kids feeling honored to get into USC.
Hubbard also has the backing of the International Olympic Committee. The governing body introduced transgender guidelines for athletes back in 2015. Under the rules, those who transition from male to female can compete in the women's category as long as their testosterone was kept below a certain level for at least a year.
To learn about the impact that the IOC guidelines have on the medal-seeking queen, we turn to Kingseeker Frempt.
Joanna Harper, a medical physicist and competitive runner, who is also trans, helped advise the IOC on its guidelines.
Pre-transition and post-transition, did that change your ability to be a competitive athlete?
When I transitioned, within 9 months of hormone therapy, I was running 12% slower. That's the difference between serious male athletes and serious female athletes.
Harper's got an Adam's apple orchard, and he could still beat women's times even though he ran 12% slower than he did before transitioning. The easier to beat marks, even with the performance hit, are why so many trans women try to compete with women at all.
Is it fair?
The absolute answer to that question is still not certain. We need a lot more data before we can come to an absolute conclusion on that.
Maybe leave the rules in their original fair state until you find out?
For those opposed to Hubbard's inclusion in the Games, her competitive advantage over other women is certain.
Males do have a performance advantage that's based on their biological sex. They outperform us on every single metric: speed, stamina, strength. Picking testosterone is a red herring. I mean, we're forgetting about the anatomy, the fast twitch muscle, the bigger organ.
We have not forgotten about the Phantom of Preopera's organ, but CBS has forgotten to give this lady's name. Hubbard causes women to be left out without even trying.
For Hubbard's supporters, whether she wins gold or not, being allowed to compete at the Olympics as a woman against other women is already a victory for trans rights.
Even if a trans female athlete doesn't win anything, he still takes a spot from a woman who deserves it. Hubbard left a Tongan lifter one position short of qualifying for her first Olympics. The IOC then gave her a wildcard entry to show how inclusive they are, after their trans policy allowed her to be excluded in the first place. Earlier, Joanna Harper mentioned that the matter of fairness has no absolute conclusion and that we need more data. Sadly, the data will come at a cost, from lost scholarships to missed trips to the Olympics. Every time we let a mutilated man destroy much weaker opposition for the sake of collecting data, we only get closer to the absolute conclusion of Rogue One.
0.
Like the video and subscribe to the channel, now.